we're going to talk about the very basics of graphing. And you've probably seen most of this before, but let's go through it just so we're all on the same page and we're all using the same terms. So the type of graphing we're going to talk about is called the rectangular system. Sometimes it's called the Cartesian coordinates. Cartesian comes from René Descartes, who was a mathematician and first thought of doing it this way. There's actually a really cool story if you want to do some internet research on that. The rectangular comes because you see if we make these grid lines, they're in little squares, which are rectangles. Okay, and overall, if you plot a point, you're really kind of making a rectangle with the axes. So we've got two number lines, and the point that they have in common is called the origin. So this point right there, that's the origin. And that point we label 0, 0. The horizontal axis going across, that's called the x-axis, and that's the one that we'll think of first in our ordered pair. And then the vertical line is our y-axis, and that'll come second in our ordered pair. Sometimes you won't hear these words very often in this class, or maybe ever, but just so you know, the x-coordinate is called the abscissa. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. And the second coordinate is called the ordinate. But don't stress about learning those terms. As long as you know the x-coordinate comes first and the y-coordinate comes second. So first we go left or right by the first number from the origin. Then from that point we go up or down by the y-coordinate. Okay, so let's plot our points in red just to give a little difference here. So to plot the point, we're going to look at point A here, -2, 3. So we're going to start at the origin. We're going to go over -2 and then up 3, and we would draw a little point there, and that's point A. Okay. Now one thing I forgot to mention here is that our x-axis and our y-axis divides our plane, the flat surface here, into 4 quadrants, 4 sections. And we start and we label this one in the upper right-hand corner quadrant 1. Okay, we use Roman letters. And so that's quadrant 1. Then we go counterclockwise. So we go over here, this is quadrant 2. Then we go down, this is quadrant 3. And this is quadrant 4. So if you ever talk about quadrants, that's what we're talking about. So A here is in quadrant 2. So we'll just list right next to it what quadrant it's in. Okay, B, we're going to go over 4 and down 5. So that's point B. And as you can see, that's in quadrant 4. Okay, C, we go over 6 and then we stay at 0. Now, we're not really on a quadrant there. We're on the x-axis. And something we might say, since it's on the positive side, since it's a positive x value, we could say this is on the positive x-axis. So that's how we would label that since it's not in a quadrant. Okay, D is at -1, -4. So that's quadrant 3. E is 0 and then down -3. Now you'll notice that, again, is not on a quadrant. It's now on the y-axis and is down where the y-axis is negative. So we would say it's on the negative y-axis. And then F is at 0, 0, which is the origin. So it really, the only term we have to describe it is by saying origin. Okay, so that's really the basics of plotting points and telling which quadrant it's in.